Welcome everybody to Cedia 2024. I find myself here at the SVS booth where there is big news, not small news.
I would say so.
It's big news. So Nick, tell us all about this surprise that is here for everybody.
Well, this is arguably the biggest news that we've ever had because this is the biggest subwoofer that SVS has ever launched, and it's actually a subwoofer series, the 17 Ultra Revolution series. And some people might have remembered the 16 Ultra. This is really a complete reimagination from the driver to the amplifier. Even the cabinet design has some new features of it. And then also the DSP. It's the most powerful processing unit we've ever put, and I think that's ever been put in a consumer subwoofer.
It's also the best of Cedia 2024.
I mean, it's already collecting hardware, so there's nothing wrong with that. And we're demonstrating two of these beasts in our demo cabin over here, which is about a 12 by 12 space.
It's ridiculous. So I don't know if, for the people that haven't been to Cedia or another trade show where SVS is at, so you'll see a lot of booths with a lot of subwoofers, right? And you'll go look and they'll be like, oh, we're running 15 18s or 24 36-inch subs or what, just a huge number of subs. And you can hear it from the outside, you're like, oh, that's impressive. Well, you walk by this and you're like, what is going on? And they're like, oh, 2.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy snap. And this thing, the walls are just like pulsating.
So last year we didn't have a roof on our demo cabin, and obviously we were still able to pressurize the space, but now we have this roof, but it's not exactly like a solid roof, so you can literally see it kind of waving when certain scenes like from cymatics and other things happen. Yeah, so obviously our demo system, we want to show off the SPL capability, especially with a ported subwoofer, and we do have a 2-channel demonstration that's much more refined, but again, it's like that calling card for SVS where it's like, I was in the bathroom and I felt this rumble, and I just started following it, and then people end up right here at booth 1747.
What's the story about the guy with the flute and all the rats? And he starts playing, and they follow him.
Peter Piper.
Yeah, Peter Piper. This is like the audiophile, home theater file, Pied Piper.
There it is. Yeah.
For sound and bass, right? People, they come in and like, oh, SVS is over there.
Or it's like the mermaids on the rock, the sirens that call to you, and then you go there, and then you just get this guttural, visceral experience.
Yeah, and it really is. I mean, there's a huge amount of SPL inside of the room, and it's really crazy. And then this is a beast. I mean, this is physically a lot larger than the 16, right?
No, actually,
it's not.
You'll notice that it doesn't have the front panel display. Because now that we have the Bluetooth control app, we're able to keep the cabinet size for the sealed and the ported version roughly the same size, which is a big benefit. But the output capabilities, the low frequency extension, far exceed that of the 16 Ultra. And there's some cool technology in here that I want to talk about too.
Yeah, let's get into it.
They look, they have some similarities to the 16 Ultra just in terms of how the driver looks, but inside here, there's a 55-pound quad ferrite toroidal magnet motor.
1, 2, 3, yeah.
And what's energizing those motors is a dual 8-inch voice coil. So we had the first 8-inch voice coil ever in the 16 Ultra series. When you have a driver of this size, obviously one of the big challenges is having that level of precision and control that allows you to get, very crisp, very accurate speed and transients and frequency response. So the 8-inch voice coil was one area that allowed us to maintain that level of precision and control. By having a dual voice coil design that's powered by dual monoblock amplifiers, so each voice coil gets its own electric charge from the monoblock amplifier, we're able to increase the amount of magnetic force that's controlling that driver, but also do some things where we're not stressing a normal household 15 amp circuit because you have more power on demand.
Yeah, and I would assume that since you're using dual voice coil, there's more power handling available to the subwoofer as opposed to just a single, right?
That's exactly right.
So that allows you, like you said, to energize this motor, which allows you to move this cone, which allows you to shake your house. Now, is this like a powder coating?
So it's a cast aluminum basket with the powder coating. And that's a completely new design too from this new series. Obviously for the 17-inch driver, we wanted to reinforce things because there is going to be more SPL, more pressure coming out of it. And then, one of the big features that has allowed us to do a lot of more sophisticated processing is our 295 megahertz analog devices DSP.
Nice.
To my knowledge, this is the most powerful chipset ever put into a consumer subwoofer. This is where it gets a little bit geeky because, people, I think they hear DSP and they hear 295 megahertz and they're like, how does that get me excited about a subwoofer.
Right.
And for one thing, I was talking about the ability for it to run off a 15 amp circuit with no issues. This is doing thousands of complex calculations and using data from the actual DSP to control the amount of power coming in and out. The switch mode power supply. So a lot of the innovations that are happening in here is to make sure that we're able to maintain that level of peak performance no matter what's coming out of the wall.
Right on. Now, does that mean that, as the signal is coming through the input, the DSP is actually monitoring that in real time? So to talk a little bit more about the DSP, does this mean that this is like an active, always on kind of processing thing? It's not just I'm going to make some settings and it gets set and it just does that thing. It's actually actively changing and morphing? Absolutely.
It's the most powerful processor that we've ever had and that I believe exists in a consumer subwoofer. So it's doing all sorts of calculations, taking all sorts of data points to manage the heat coming in and out of the amplifier, to make sure that there's enough reserve power, to make sure it can hit that peak performance when the content demands it the most, to make sure that the energy going into the voice coil is controlling the driver with pinpoint precision. I mean, all of these things are elements of the DSP, which, again, DSP isn't the sexiest thing about a subwoofer, but when you think about how important it is, it's the smartest subwoofer that we've ever made. It's truly the brains of this ecosystem, and it allows you to do so many more things, even with the app, which we can talk about as well.
Yeah, and I don't know of any other subwoofer that has active DSP input. I mean, I've touched a lot of subwoofers, and all of them, I can't think of one that does that. That's very interesting.
It was an innovation that our engineers got so excited about, and they're starting to tell me, and my eyes are sort of glazing over because I'm like, yeah, but how is this going to get people excited? But when you actually think about how much it's doing to optimize the performance of the subwoofer, but also to take into account the power coming out of the wall and all the different content that it has to sort of figure out what sort of output and what depths and all the different performance features, it really is important. And then the other whole part of it is the app. We're now able to have 3 more bands of parametric EQ.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's talk about that, right?
Yeah, so 3 more bands of parametric EQ on the app, which is something a lot of our customers have been asking for. So it'll now be a 6-band parametric EQ. And then beyond that, within a month or so after these start shipping, we're going to have our first ever auto EQ calibration software.
What?
So you can use your smartphone mic or an external mic connected to your smartphone and run auto EQ with the 17 Ultra series.
That's outstanding. Okay, a funny question I have to ask. Why is it with SVS you guys always buck convention? And what I mean by that is, somebody will build a 15, you're like, no, I'm going to make a 16. Somebody will make an 18, you're like, nope, I'm going to make a 17. Is it a differentiator, or is it just because you've got to be special?
I think SVS is sort of our whole ethos all along has been to do things a little bit differently, to bring a level of performance that we know is unique to SVS and really delivers unprecedented bang for the buck. And I think we find that, with a 17-inch driver, we're able to maintain a little bit better control. And, it's a great question for our engineers because, the 16 Ultra at the time was the perfect balance between output, depth, and control and precision that we were able to master. Now with this dual voice coil design, we're able to maximize on the potential of a 17-inch driver, which again, you're moving more air, you're getting greater SPLs, but also with the new design, you're able to control that with more precision and authority.
Right on. Great. Well, I think this is amazing addition to the line, right? I mean, it's obviously the next building block, and it's been a while since you've introduced a different size subwoofer, right? I mean, so the SB and PB17 were released about 10 years ago, so this is the first subwoofer in a while, right?
Well, we have had multiple launches of new series since then, but all of those feature trickle-down technology from the 16 Ultra series, our 3000 Micro, the 3000 series, even the 4000 series. All of those follow the flagship model. So if you follow SVS, you kind of know we take the technology from our new series and we try to bring that to lower inclusive prices. And I think if you pay attention, you'll start to notice that some of our future subs will have a lot of the innovations that we've just been talking about today.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for telling me about this and everybody else about this new subwoofer. This is a beast. I mean, just look at these ports. I mean, they're absolutely humongous. I mean, everything here is XXL, I love it.
I should mention, these are the largest ports we've ever done. So that's something people get excited about. 4-inch ports, again, you're moving tons and tons of air, but you're not getting any of the chuffing. We've done so much research, and that's another thing with the DSP that controls the level of airflow within the subwoofer to make sure you're getting nice, accurate content. I should also mention these will be available sometime in October. The ported model here will be $29.99 US, and then the sealed model will be $24.99 US. And you know, the 16 Ultras are still legendary, and you might see some closeout pricing on those coming soon. So it'll be your last chance to get into the 16 Ultra, but certainly this next wave is only going to step up what SVS is doing as far as our reference subwoofer game.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for joining. Remember, like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all those things, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thanks, everyone. Just shows how much fun the show is. Oh, yeah, that's cool. Hey. So I like when that happens, Jiles. It makes it more entertaining. I'm not hating on that. Honestly, don't cut that.
No, I'm gonna cut it.
No, almost done. I promise. We're wrapping up. Sorry. It's not live. It's for
it's not live.
For post.
Hey, no worries, man.
All that technology was trickled down into our